UBS just talked us why she's getting engaged in global commerce. Now we talk about the growth of the middle class. We make references to different markets in terms of where that middle class is growing. So our next speaker then will be speaking about a particular market, a market that just recently went through some dramatic change and watershed changes in terms of changing policies that facilitate that global market, which is India. So it's all yours, Mr. Shah.
And I'll start with calling it modification. The Modi is the last name of our Prime Minister, and it's really modifying the way India has done business. Opportunities are enormous. I was just traveling from Savannah, and I got from Savannah to Macon in about 2 hours, and then from Macon to McDonough it took me an hour, and from McDonough to here it took me another hour and a half. And I've never seen in my life on I-16 about 50 cars when I traveled from Macon to Savannah. And I saw probably 200,000 trucks traveling, and I saw Savannah port humming with global commerce. You don't have to go far, but go 150 miles in this port and see what's happening. It's just absolutely amazing. But here I'm to talk about India. India is going through what I call sea change. Mahatma Gandhi, by coincidence, arrived in India from South Africa to change India exactly 100 years ago. And this Prime Minister is doing exactly the same thing in a different manner to change India the way we know it. For last 65 years of our independence, almost 45 years of those 65 years where India was a very closed economy. They didn't export much, they didn't import much. They were a closed economy, mostly democratic, but it was a very socialistic democratic country. Everything was done by the government. Government owned the railways, post office, coal mines, even watches were made by the government. All that changed in 1992 with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, who started liberalizing the economy, but only did to a certain extent. Never went far enough to attract foreign investors to come to India. So now, Mr. Modi has come up with a new slogan called Make It in India. Make it India, or Make in India. And the objectives of those are basically to facilitate business investment in India, foster business innovation, protect intellectual property, and build infrastructure. India is going to spend close to $10 trillion in the next 15 years on all those 4 items. And I'll just go one by one. Can you go to the next slide? These are the 25 markets that have been identified by the Indian government, ready for expansion for the global commerce in terms of global companies coming to do business in India. All this space have a lot of, I'll just give you a couple of examples. Just take example for say ports or railways, roads and highways. This country has 42,000 miles of interstate highways. Well, India has 2,000. Okay, so we need roads, we need interstate highway system, we need ports, we need railways, we need defense. Defense, India is now second largest purchase of the defense equipment. Okay. In domestic airlines, they have ordered 800 aircraft. Okay, never happened in the history of 65 years combined, is what's happening in the last 2 years. So, if you talk about global commerce, you won't be able to miss India. 1/3 of the population lives in India. Okay, 1.2 trillion countable people. If you don't count another, it will be like another Europe that you can't count, that lives in slums and whatnot. So, and there are many good things that are happening about India, and I'll tell you, and I call it why the program is needed. So that's the next slide is telling you why. There are 1.2 billion people, but most important number out of that is 350 million people are what they call middle class, ready to spend money, globally speaking. And these are the people who came out from poverty into the middle class. So just think about the entire Europe lies in one country. Entire North America is lying in one country ready to spend money. Okay? India is a very stable, it always has been democracy from 1947, our independence till today. We have never had a coup. So all the stable democratic, the oldest democracy in the world is India. And the third item is the most important. 65% of Indian population is below age of 35. And 55% of population is below age of 28. So you got the most young and world largest English-speaking population living in one country. So if you want to have a business outsourcing center, CPAs, you talk about Deloitte who's having big office, UPS having big office. India is where you need the manpower. These are English people. That's why when you pick up Dell computer and call somebody, the phone goes into Bangalore. And somebody's trying to solve the problem because all these young people, they're very wired, they understand the computers, and that's why when they can speak fluent English compared to China or a lot of other countries, because we were colonialized, so from day one, we went to English-speaking schools. So we speak English just like anybody else. Even though General Electric has a program to teach the southern accent, the northern accent, and I've been to Bangalore, where if you get a call from Louisiana, this is how you speak. Because a call from New York, this is how you speak. And one of the emphasis of Make in India is take the manufacturing from 15% of GDP to 25% of GDP. India has been very great in service sector, but it's not been great in manufacturing sectors. And I'll tell you in a minute why. But that is what the Prime Minister wants to change. Because everybody knows without manufacturing, service economy can only do so much. You can only have so many CPAs and so many lawyers. If you don't have plants and you don't make something, you don't go that far. And I think China understood that well before India does, but India is waking up. So the next slide is what the program is doing. It's basically, government has, in the last only 8 months, has started changing the complete environment of how government would approve all this foreign investment. So they've started a special unit for the foreign investors. If you come in, there's a single window of approval. Before it was a license Raj, as they used to call it. Red tape after red tape after red tape. Some company waited about 5-6 years to get a license to do business. That's about to change. And same thing, all the services, all the licenses, all the clearances are now consolidated. And now there's even an e-business. You can go on the website and ask a question, and within 72 hours, they're supposed to reply your answer. Okay? And I think we have 1.2 billion visitors or something in the last 8 months. So they are proactively making sure they answer all the questions. They're easing policies. This is the first time the Prime Minister got elected with 60%, 67% of the vote. So he has the kind of support and power that he needs to change India. And he's doing it. And I'll tell you in a few minutes how he's already doing it. Let's look at the next slide. This is how he did it. In 8 months, he went to China, secured $100 million worth of investment in 5 years. He came to US in September, secured $41 billion in investment. Went to Japan in the middle, did $35 billion. Last week he was in Germany and France, did about $20 billion. And last 2 days ago he's in Canada. This Prime Minister has put more miles as a Prime Minister going over the country. So I would say, safely say within next year or so, we'll have $500 billion worth of investment coming in India. And this man was a chief minister of a state where I come from, and it was all business. He transformed that state from number 15 to number 1 in doing business. Made a hub of making car manufacturing facility like within 12 months. So this Prime Minister is non-corrupt, means business, understands business, and is out to market India like never seen before. The entire transformation of the psyche of people in India and psyche globally has changed about India. And all the elements, the population, the middle class, ready to spend money, good English-speaking workforce, all the elements you need to do a global commerce is there. So that's how the program is doing. And the mindset that I just talked about is completely changed. And then this Prime Minister, the first Prime Minister that is on the Twitter, is on the Facebook, is answering the questions. I mean, this is the Prime Minister that wakes up at 4 o'clock, goes to work at 6, has a meeting, is done by 7, and it's 8 o'clock, he's ready to face the work. And he does that day in and out. When he came to the United States, it was 6 days of fasting. We fast 9 days in one of the fast events. On the 6th day, he was in the United States, the 6th day of fasting, and he was still going at 100 miles an hour, like 7 meetings. And I had opportunity to meet him in New York, but he had like 6 meetings that day. And he woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, same like he would woke up in India. So I personally think I'm feeling almost like I left out. Why am I in this country? The India is place today. I'm telling you, if you are not there, you need to be there. If you are researching about it, there's a sea change going on, not only in the psyche of Indian people, but psyche outside the country, and you can see why that's investment. Stop here, right?
He gets an extra ticket.
Yes.
Great. So now, flexibility is the name of the game in here. So our next speaker is going to talk about, again, this is all about humans. It's about communications. Despite technology, we need to know how to communicate with each other. So